You can go ahead and put the fiberglass on like that. It bonds pretty well. I'm not going over it. I'm just going right over the flange. It's taping the corner bead right to the old sheetrock and follow through all the way. All the way. Cut it with my knife. Keep going. Keep going. Using up this last roll before I use my new roll up. All the way up. All the way around. Alright, use that old roll up. Now I got a new, brand new roll. Fiberglass mesh tape, you'll read a lot of people talk about on the internet, different types of tape to use for drywall. You got paper tapes, fiber fused tapes, this other tape, so many different options out there. Trust me, basic, regular, white fiberglass tape is good. Some people like the yellow or blue fiberglass tape. All that color is on that is so you can see if it needs more mud because you see the yellow or blue tape shining through. Good old-fashioned fiberglass tape, if you use it correctly, it'll never crack out. I use this because I have to warranty my work. Warranty. So that's why I use fiberglass mesh tape. This is the only product I'll use. I'm sure there's other stuff on the market that's better, but I'm not going to experiment. So I use what I know works, and I'm going to stick to this product only. Fiberglass mesh tape. Continue on, fiberglass in your corner bead. We're going to go all the way around. Like I said, you don't have to do this. This just prevents any cracks. Metal pops, we call metal pops. A simple step like this will save any cracks, just give it better quality. The whole bottom's done. Get on my step ladder and then I'm going to go inside. Go all the way around, all the way around. Spend an extra 5 minutes with some fiberglass tape. It'll save you cracks ever happening in the future. I do this on all my corner bead. Go all the way around. All the way around. All the way around. All this old stuff. We're going to have to touch up the inside of the box. They left it smooth. We're going to touch it up. Fix these nail holes from the old fluorescent lighting. They have those big 4-foot old school fluorescent lights in here. There's no fiberglass, a little hole like that, no problem. You can just do 2 or 3 layers of fiberglass over the hole. We're going to fill it with a hot mud. These were from the light anchors themselves. The big drywall anchors to install the lights. So instead of pulling the anchors out, they just rip them out, cause these bigger holes. If the holes were bigger than this, then you'd have to sheetrock them in. If the hole goes all the way through the drywall, goes all the way through, you always have to tape over the hole. Even a little hole like that has to be taped over. If the hole went all the way through there, it has to be taped over. You can't just fill it with mud. If the hole just went partially through the wall, then you could fill it with mud. But if it goes all the way through the sheetrock, you're going to have to tape over it. Fiberglass tape is perfect for these little holes. Any rough goobers. I'm going to tape over this last corner bead. And then I'm going to double check all my work. Because after you're done here, we're going to do a first coat. Goobers here, these lights are really in my way, driving me nuts working around them. These anchors, you can hammer those up, get them out of the way. Sometimes it's easier just to hammer them up and fill them in with mud than trying to pull them out. You pull them out, now you have a big hole in the ceiling, so sometimes it's better just to hammer them up and fill them in. Any goobers? Everything's fiberglass meshed. It took me 5 minutes or so to fiberglass that and give you peace of mind knowing that the fiberglass. You can also push the fiberglass down if need be. Sometimes it doesn't like to stick. You can go through and push it down, no problem. Everything's pretty much ready. So nice fiberglass. Notice I didn't go over the edge. You don't want to see fiberglass on that sharp corner. You just want to stay inside of it. So we're done framing corner bead. We're done fiberglass taping. So now we're going to do coating. On this, I'm going to just use a 20-minute hot mud. 20-minute. That way I can do probably 2 or 3 pans at 20-minute. Get all this coated out. And then we can let it dry. Alright. I'm going to use a 20-minute. I'm using a 20-minute because I have to finish this job in one trip. But if you never mudded before, just use a joint compound. Joint compounds, you have to let dry overnight. First coat, always need thick mud. This is a bigger knife. I can fill in this whole area. So I'm probably just going to fill in all this. Just to fill it in, go right to the angle. Don't need a lot of mud. I think I can get this all coated, maybe 2 or 3 pans at the most. Get the mud on. I'm going to go halfway that way, and then come back halfway that way. Now I got one lap mark. I went into the angle. Same thing here. Coat that way. If you ever have to do these, do it before you install your new lights. Make life a little easier. First coat don't have to be perfect. It's just a coat fill in. If you've never mudded before, just use a regular joint compound. Joint compounds are easier to use because if you make a mistake, after it dries the next day, you can sand away your mistakes. One more side. Pretty much got that whole around her coated with one pan, so I'm going to just take this extra mud here and fill in these anchor holes, touch up any bad areas, rough areas. So then I just got to mix one more pan to the bottom. Go ahead and mix another one. I have enough mud here in the pan to finish, do around those vents. So I'm going to go ahead and use up my mud right here in this tight area. Right along the vent. You could also remove the vent, do under the vent, but I'm just going to go right up to it nice and clean. Let's go ahead and mix another pan of mud. Alright, so I got my second pan of mud. I'm hoping to finish the bottom of this with this one pan of mud. That'd be awesome if I did it 2 pans of mud, got it all first coated. I'm just using a 12-inch knife. I'm going to take this out as far as it'll let me take it out, so I'll put the coat on nice and heavy. See that tape? Stubborn tape, push it down. I like to get all my mud on before I feather it off. So I'll probably go as far as I can around this. Halfway's fine. I'm going to feather it. All this extra mud back in the pan. I'm going to lay the knife down flat so it gives a nice coat. Nice heavy coat on that corner bead. Any mud lapping your square bead, just run your edge of your knife on it. Get that mud off. This area here, just take it around. No big deal. Cover the edge. Cover the edge. Do that. Get rid of that. All right. Keep going. Feather your edge. Lay your knife down flat. Clean your bead. Clean your bead. Tight area here around this thing. I'm just going to fill it in. Just like that. There we go. Looks like I may use up all my mud. Like I said, this is a 20-minute mud. 20-minute mud gives me plenty of work time to get all this coated. And while it's drying, setting up, I can clean my tools and plenty of time. I could also have used a 5-minute mud, but it would have probably been set up already. And then it'd be setting up as I was first coating this bottom part. So I wanted all the setup at the same time so I can turn around and slick it out. Get rid of your edges. I still have some mud in my pan. So I'm going to double check my sealing, different angles, any touch-up areas, nails, touch-ups that need to be done. Go ahead and put a second coat over these patches, it's fine. After they set up, we're going to slick it out. I don't want to waste any material, so I'm going to use it all up. Still have a little bit of mud here, so I'm going to scrape my pan. Scrape the pan. Scrape the pan. I only have a little bit here, so I'm just going to put it on my first coat of it up here, just not to waste it. Instead of the corner bead, and I'm just going to almost do like a second coat over it, not pushing down hard. Just basically using up the material. Use up the material. Nothing to go to waste. Nothing to go to waste. Nothing to go to waste. Clean your corner bead. Clean your corner bead. Go around, clean your corner bead. It's easier to do it now while it's still wet. Look at that, 2 pans of mud. Got it all first coated. Let that set up. Let it set up, and then we're going to slick it out. Go ahead and clean your tools as it's setting up. 20 minutes. 20 minutes takes forever to dry on glossy painted walls. This is still wet where the gloss paint is, but it's dry inside here where it's a flat paint. So we're going to go ahead and slick out the inside of this box while we let the bottom part set up a little longer. Let's go ahead and slick it out. This is the process done with only hot muds. It's called a slick out technique. On my channel I have several videos on all my patch jobs where I use hot muds, 5 minutes and stuff like that. So once the mud starts setting up like that, it's not totally wet, but it's not totally dry. You got to work the mud now. We're going to slick it out, get it all slicked out, and then if need be, go ahead and do another coat. We're going to see how it slicks out. We might not even need to do a second coat since I coated this so heavy. Once we slick it out, we'll see what we got here. The texture is really rough, heavy texture, so we might not even need to do another coat. We might be able to do a heavy texture right over this. But let's go ahead and get it slicked out while we let the bottom part where it's gloss painted, that green gloss paint, it's still wet. This is really wet, so we're just going to let the bottom dry as we work the inside of this box. Slick out technique, you need a clean wet sponge and a 6-inch knife. It's setting up, so I like to work the angles. I'm working the angles. It gets the mud in the angle. You're doing your corner bead. Just kind of go over it. This is not a soaking wet sponge, but it is wet. Then you can kind of go every direction. You're working the material on the knife. See how it's taking off the extra material? Because there's more than enough material on there. You're going to take that material, any rough areas, I'm going to take that mud on there and just fill it in. Some people like to go the opposite direction of their coat. That's fine. Go every which way. Any rough areas, you need some more moisture, go ahead and just wet it some more. With joint compounds you let dry overnight, then you sand them and then recoat it. With a hot mud is more professional grade material. You work it as it sets up. They also do muds like this for cement work, stucco, grouting, same thing. I don't know if you ever done tiling before, but grout, you put the grout down and you kind of let it set up, whatever set time it is, and then you follow through with the wet sponge and you take off the extra mud. So this is almost like working like with the cement, but it's a quick set mud. Follow your angles, just go around everything. I don't think I'm going to be doing a second coat on this because it's a nice coat, but I might do a touch-up, especially in these top holes in the ceiling. They were pretty deep. I'm definitely going to touch these up. I might use a 5-minute mud or a regular joint compound just to touch up everything. Once your sponge gets kind of dry, go ahead and dip it in your water bucket, fresh water. More water in your sponge. All that excess drywall, I'm taking the dust off of it. This is the old sheetrock. I want to get the dust off of it. That way the texture will bond to it a lot better, so it's not bonding to old dusty sheetrock ceiling. Go around. Angle, same thing in your angle here. See, the bottom's starting to set up now, not on the edge, so by the time I get this all slicked out, we can work with the bottom. You have to slick out hot muds no matter what. They have to be slicked out. You can't just put this on and let it dry overnight or you'll be in trouble. You have to work with it as it's setting up. Don't put it on and walk away from the job. You have to slick it out at least before you call it a day on the job. Alright, box is good enough. Fresh, clean sponge. I'm going to check the edge. Get rid of that edge. Always get rid of that edge. It's still kind of damp, but I can work with it here. I'm going to feather it off. Feather. See how it's taking off the extra mud? Deep areas like that, I can take some of that mud and fill it in. Look at that. Keep a nice clean edge here, your square edge, and just keep it shiny. Everybody thinks mud needs to be on that edge, but no, it needs to be nice and square, 90-degree metal edge showing. Nice sharp, clean, sharp edge. Go around, feather your edges, most important. The bottom area looked rough, but it looks better than up there now. Also, because I put that fiberglass in there, it doesn't take as much mud to fill it in. See, we're taking off that extra mud. I'm slicking it out, taking off that extra mud. Re-damp your sponge. Just keep the water bucket next to me. Just work it. You're working the mud. Slick out technique. I'm sure different areas have a different name for it, but I just call it slicking out hot mud. It's just working with any kind of cement, quick set materials. This is how you manipulate materials, clays, cements, hot muds, stuff like that. Same principles go into stucco, patching, stuff like that. Take off the extra material. Just keep on going around until it all looks good. Clean your edge, around that vent real tight. I'm going to push down hard right against the edge of this so it's not a big clump of mud. It's going to be feathered nice and tight. I don't want a big clump of mud. We're just filling in the bead. So on the edge, same thing. Keep going around. This is hot mud technique. Who's over there? Scrape it. There we go. Double check everything. I didn't miss anything on the ceiling while I'm here. Finish off this corner. Corner bead. Taking that extra mud I have on here and putting another coat on these really deep holes that were on that ceiling. Remember that I taped over 3 layers of fiberglass? Extra mud, so I took off a lot of extra mud. That's first coated slicked out. I don't know. First coat slick out looks better than most guys' third coats. So I don't want to keep putting mud on here. I don't want a big hump on here. So I'm just going to go through now. I'm just going to touch this up. It's getting a really heavy texture. So the texture itself is going to be pretty heavy. It's going to hide a lot. So I'm just going to go through now. I'm going to touch up the bad stuff, the obvious stuff. Going to do a quick tight touch up on the bad areas, and then we're going to follow through with a joint compound to do a skip trowel Santa Fe texture match. But this 20 minutes setting up, and it's still kind of damp, so by the time we get the materials ready to touch it up, this will be nice and set up, nice and tight around there. That's a good job. All this already, a lot of work just for that, just to put the corner bead around. It's coming together though. It's looking nice. It's going to be really sharp once it's finished. Also, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and subscribe, like, leave a comment. This is a large project here, long project, so it's probably a long video. So go ahead and just send me a like. I'm doing this for you. I know how to do drywall. I'm trying to explain it while I'm working with my hands. I'm trying to do as best as I can to help you guys out. You'll see the process involved here, so if when in doubt, always hire a professional. Let's go ahead and get this touched up. That way it can get to touch up and start setting up so we can turn around and do a texture. Alright, first coat's all set up. Second coat's touch up, set up. I'm going to be using a topping. A topping is a joint compound with less glue. Reason I like to use toppings because it goes on smoother. It doesn't leave bubbles, stuff like that. So toppings are good to use for textures, at least for this type of texture. It's hard to tell. They call this a Santa Fe skip. It's hard to tell in this lighting, of course. I'm working indoors, so we're just going to do the Santa Fe skip here. Get it all textured and then texture on the lights. So just a pan of this. It's mixed up really creamy, no clumps in it. Heavy, heavy pancake batter consistency. That's how I like most, if not all, my muds for textures. Most textures are a heavy, heavy pancake batter consistency. Creamy, no clumps. If you got clumps in it, you're going to have to strain it with like a metal spaghetti strainer, something like that. But this is all set up. It's ready to go. So let's go ahead and get it all textured out and get this area of plastic cleaned up. That way this can get to dry and we can turn around. I like to just use a 6-inch knife when I do repair textures. It's an easier knife to control. Make sure your mud's mixed up creamy. Nice clean straight knife. That's why I use a 6-inch knife, because it's straight. There's no big bow in the center like most knives have. Basically just going to go through and skip trowel this, no big deal. This is like a Santa Fe skip trowel, so basically a skip trowel put on that's troweled down heavy. Kind of like put it on and then you just trowel it down a little more so it's smoother, no big deal. Depending on your area, you may of course have different type textures. Every area has a different texture. I'll drive 4 miles down the road and the houses there will have a different type of texture. The process is the same, getting it coated, getting it all ready. If you wanted to leave it smooth, your next step would just be a smooth coat of mud over everything, a real tight coat, and leave it a smooth texture. It ain't going to be a level 5 smooth wall, level 5 and all that. It's like a perfect glass finish, perfect walls. This is just a skip trowel here, so we're just going to get it all skip troweled. Little knife takes a little more time. I'm not caking up the mud in the angle. Sometimes you can even run it in the angle so you keep that angle nice and straight. Don't have a bunch of clumps of mud in the angle. Just follow through, working around these lights. That's kind of goofy. They didn't want to drop them, and of course I'm not going to pull down any electrical. I don't touch electrical. They already paid a electrician to install these lights, so I'm not going to come in and undo the electrical work. It's not my thing. I also told homeowners they can drop it and they can get texture behind it, or I can just texture up to it as best as possible. So we're not caking a bunch of mud up around the edge of it. I'm just going to feather it a little tighter around the edge of the thing. Sides just bring them down. That's why this mud's yellow. It's like a topping type texture. Some stores sell toppings, so that's what toppings are. A lot of guys like to use toppings for textures or touch-ups because there's less glue. Less glue means it's easier to sand. If you need to sand it, it goes on creamier. Basically just a creamy mud. Nice topping. That's why we call it topping. It's going on top of all of our coat work. This is a heavier texture, so it does hide a little bit of your imperfections, but we don't use our texture to hide bad coat work. If your coat job isn't good, you're going to have to do another coat, or at least touch it up with a tight skim coat before you do any type of texture. Doesn't matter what type of texture it is. Go around, takes a little bit of time. Check your angles, keep the angles clean. Just keep plugging away, it's tedious. I'd rather do this type of texture than say a spray knockdown or something like that. If you did a spray knockdown, I'd have to totally enclose this area with plastic. I already ran plastic around, but it's not sealed up perfect to contain overspray. It's just contained curtain just to keep the mud and dust in my work area. So if you do a spray type texture, you have to mask off everything perfect. Then you have to pull out the spray rig. Go around the lights. You'd be surprised how many of these old style boxes are in these soffit ceilings like this. I would say it was the craze in the 70's, 80's, where they had the cover on here. They had the big fluorescent, 4-foot fluorescent lighting in here. Then they have a plastic cover on it. So this is a simple, easy thing you can do on the kitchen ceiling if you have one of these boxes in your ceilings to update it. Cheap kitchen remodel. Instead of ripping out cabinets, doing a full kitchen remodel, this is something simple that can be done to at least make it look nicer than it was, than some big drop ceiling cover boxes. These are nice lights in here. I've seen people where they put can lights, 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch candle lights, track lighting, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different options. Get all textured and takes time. Skip trowel, Santa Fe is what I call it. Just a skip trowel that's troweled down a little more to kind of give it a smoother areas. Finish up this corner here on the ceiling, finish up the sides of the box, and then we'll do the bottom. I'm going to do the bottom, take it up to the plastic, and then I might have to pull the plastic down and feather it out a little more so it feathers out into the old ceiling. So new meets old, and it's nice feathered out texture. Nothing to it. Practice makes perfect on texturing. You can watch this video 1,000 times, doesn't mean you're going to know how to texture. So maybe you want to practice on an old piece of sheetrock, practice on anything before you commit to any type of textures that you want to do. When in doubt, just leave it smooth, skim it out. Smooth looks nice. I like smooth, it looks updated, looks sharp, looks clean. This corner here. I haven't used a full pan yet of mud. I'm also using a bigger pan. I'm using an 18-inch pan. Most pans you buy in the store are 12, maybe 14-inch pan. So I do have a bigger pan. I use a bigger pan because I can hold more materials. The ceiling looks pretty good. Finish up this side here. And then we're going to do the whole bottom. Going to do the whole bottom, and we're going to pull the plastic. I have videos on my channel like this. I have a whole playlist of just texture videos, different types of textures, skip trowels, spring knockdowns. So there's plenty of textures out there to choose from. Try to match. If it was me, I would just leave it smooth. Skim out everything and leave it smooth. That's just my preference. I like smooth, clean stuff, but we're matching what they have here. Finish up over here. Double check around the light over here on this side of the light. Clean finish around the light, so masking work. Finish up here, finish up here. Yeah, I know this is a lengthy video, but this is what it takes. These jobs take hours to do. You can also jump in my other videos. I have shorter videos and smaller patch jobs. The routine's pretty much the same. Get it sheetrocked, get it taped, coated 2 times. If it's really bad, coat 3 times, then texture. I just have this one more area here, and I'm going to double check everything here before I get off the step bench and work on the bottom of the soffit. Check my angle here, trowel it down, trowel it down, trowel it down, trowel it down. Double check everything. If you missed anything, this corner here, clean it up a little bit. Double check, double check. I like different points of view. Light there, a little something. That looks good. Alright, so we got the whole box textured. The inside of the box is textured. Now we're going to do the bottom of the soffit. Huh? Looking sharp. Really looks nice. Now with the lights there installed, makes my work even look better. Because now I kind of see the finished product. Finished product. Let's go ahead and get the bottom of the soffit textured. I don't have much mud in my pan, but I'm going to go ahead and use it up before I go out and get more. This texture, I want to look at it because I'm matching into it, so I want to make sure I go the correct direction. This one kind of goes everywhere, so they call it a multi-directional skip trowel. So I just like to start on the outside edge and go the same direction to bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. Use my mud up. I'm going to go get another pan. So once I get another pan of mud, I use 2 pans of 20 minutes of first coat. not even a half a pan, a quarter a pan to do a second coat skim touch up, and then maybe less than 2 pans of mud to do texture. So altogether, less than 5 pans of mud. 5 pans of mud to do a whole ceiling job like this. A little bit more mud in the pan. Take it out. And let's finish this one leg. That way I got one side complete. Pull my plastic here so I can feather it out. Feather it out a little more so there's not just a line there. That way texture fades out into the old. Good transition. Good transition. Good transition. Double check everything. A little bit more mud here, so I'm just going to take this edge. This edge. Alright, we're getting to the bottom of the pan. I'm starting to get goobers in my mud, so I might even clean my pan before I get another thing of mud. Really plastic. It's looking good, guys. Take it out there. Take it out there. Finish up this bad boy. Inching along here. All right. All right, on the home stretch. Around this vent. It's always easier to drop the vent. I asked the homeowner if they wanted to take it down. They didn't want to take it down, so we're going to work around it. We're not going to put a bunch of mud up to the edge of it. Clumping mud. Just do a nice tight area. Alright. Feather it out. Plastic, feather it out. Good transition. Alright. That here. They said, let there be lights, and there was lights. Alright, finish up this one little spot here. Nice transition. Take it out, make it blend in nicely, so you don't know where the new meets the old. The whole goal of this is to make it look like it's always been original. Original. Don't check any skipped areas. Everything blends in nice. Nice, nice. Pull your masking. Pull your masking. I don't know know about you guys, but that was awesome. Masterpiece. It's a small kitchen, so it's really hard to tell what's going on here in such a tight, confined area. But it all corner bead. You got it all textured. Just let that thing dry at least 24 hours. 24 hours with joint compounds. Once they dry, always primer. I always recommend using a primer on drywall repairs, mud. Always use a primer. PVA drywall sealer or a Kills 2 latex go-to stuff. But hey, that was a long video, a lot of work. I think I was here for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours to do this, installing 3 corner beads, get it all tape coated, mudded, and textured. The kitchen soffit box. Looks beautiful. If you haven't done it already, please like this video, leave a comment. Thank you.